Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live transmission. As you can see, we're very well packed up. We have a powerhouse today, right? Wherever you are, from wherever you're watching us. I have Frank Rogala with me and Nikkiana Jones.
Hello.
We have very interesting, important topics to cover, including the disclosure in Mackinaw conference that it's pretty around the corner.
All of you will be there. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. We both were invited, so thank you so much.
To come to it. Yeah, and I'm really excited about this, and it's going to be a 3-day event. It's like on it's coming up quick, so you got to get tickets quick. It's coming up on August 31st, 1st and 2nd of September. So like right before Memorial Day. Like what is that? A Tuesday, a Wednesday?
It's before Labor Day.
Right before Labor Day. Right.
It's like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So yeah, like, and there's camping options, and there's a lot. There's going to be CE5s where you look for stuff, and it's just like cool community and stuff to look at. So wait, who's all on the roster? You got the Emery Smith, JP, Traver Grassi, us, Aaron Kuhn,
Scott Walter.
Okay.
I mean, it's like any other conference, in Ezra, people may not know her that well, but she's a physicist that's worked with Nassim Haramein, and we've got, a lot of us have been on digs in Mexico in a certain place, right? And she was on one as well. So, and also Trevor Hawk will be doing something virtually. We're going to work something out because he really wanted to be there, but he's got something very important happening with some scientists at the University of Arizona right at the same time. So
cool.
I think just like the topics we were talking about and watching the intro to this, I'm thinking this is so perfect.
I love your intro. The music makes me go like,
So before Nikki gets started, because we started chatting, right? And I think we're going to have a little bit of a, because I've got a story too that I might have told one or two of you a bit about. So Nikki and I both have a recent shape-shifting story that here's the thing, I'm visualizing, I walk out on stage, and talk to everybody, and we're going to have people that are not really acquainted with this world, right? It's going to be some very new people. And so I'm going to ask them something like, how many of you can say that you were taught something that was wrong that you now know is right, and then get the right. Yeah, and then I'm going to ask how many of you were taught something that was right that you now know is wrong, hold your hand up, right? How do you know what you know? So I'm saying that to preface what you're going to hear next, because we talk about physics, we talk about quantum physics, we talk about timelines, we talk about things that are not considered normal, that every day people are getting up, going to their job, making their coffee, whatever. Right. we are coming into a time when things are going to get slippery and weird. And people like this are going to be people who can help those of you who have not been really paying attention to what is really going on, right? So
get with the program.
Yeah.
so one thing that that Nikki brings is like she's had some experiences that I'm really interested in getting her and JP to sit down to talk about some of these other realms that exist among us, you know, because we're so used to just trusting our senses, you know, like first chapter of my book, you know, trusting our senses and how.
Which his book's amazing, guys. He just came out with it. It's called Cracking the Reality or Crack. How do you say it? What is it?
It's really long. Saving Civilization, Cracking Open Reality Beyond the Mainstream Veil. I couldn't pick one, so sorry.
I'm through the first 200 pages right now, and it's like I'm like, I can't believe I know this guy. This is amazing. It's like such a good book, Frank. And you guys, I'll do another interview with him just about the book, but go do yourself a favor in life and buy it right now because it's like amazeballs. It's a really, really good book. It's like the best book I've read in a while. Like I actually want to finish reading it instead of like, I got to get back to that one. You know, it's so good. I love it.
And if you get one, you can get your copy signed by the author, Frank, at Disclosure in Mackinaw, which will make it even more special because you have the opportunity to put in practice all the information that he has been delivering in such a genius way. Yeah.
One thing with the book that I want to get, I'm so happy that, you know, people in our world are like, you're getting something out of me because I originally intended it for all the people who kind of know something's going on, but they don't quite know, you know, what it is. And they just got to get their bill paid and they got to go get their gas in their car and they're busy. Right. And so I tried to make it all things that they can look up, not just, I mean, there's a few things in there where I go, I'll say, look, this is what I think. And I don't have any basis for this, but I'm just telling you from what I've seen. But it's all things they can look up themselves and go, oh, wow, that's true. Oh, what? You know, I mean, the Monopoly man had a monocle, you know, or he didn't have a monocle, or, you know.
The Mandela effects.
So what it will also help you when you think of things that sound like, oh, that's just imagination, or that's, you know, that's belongs to some fantasy book or whatever, to realize that we're living in a very fluid universe and it's going to get more fluid. So the quicker you understand, I mean, if you see a lecture by YssaH and she starts telling you about how the universe and the geometry works together and how it's connected and how everything is basically a fractal of everything else, you can get a little woozy, but when it settles in, it all makes so much sense. You know, it's like, it's not a mystery. People that have a hard time believing in spirituality or God or whatever, it's because we've been cut off from really connecting and understanding that a lot of the ancients and a lot of the indigenous people still have. So with that, I wanted to segue just because it's fresh. So forgive me, YssaH, I'm going to go right to Nikki. I know this is your show, but I'm like, she started with the story right before we started.
Okay,
I stopped her.
All right, guys, full disclosure. I was like not even going to talk about this publicly, but I just was like, talking to my friends because I'm like, I need some advice about this weird thing that just happened to me. Okay, so, but fine, you can hear this is how my world is, right? Okay, so I'm a flight attendant. A month ago, I was on a flight and I have never seen a shapeshifter before because I've heard of them and I've had people one-on-one tell me about shapeshifters, all this stuff. And I was like, cool, like neither here nor there about it, right? So it's a very late flight. We're super delayed. We're getting in at like 1 a.m. I can't even remember where we were going. I think it was maybe we're like Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee to Denver, maybe. I am like I'm picking up trash in the middle of the night, and this girl on the end of the aisle looks at me, and she's got short dark hair, and she throws away the trash and she says thank you. And I like I like double take, like look at her because in my brain I was like, oh, that looks like that chick who like got her hands burned and then was like a scientist got killed or killed herself or has a mysterious death, like one of those missing scientist stories they're talking about. And I couldn't remember her name. And then so I kind of started looking at her and she freaked out that I was recognizing her, and she shape shifted in front of my eyes into like a blonde chick with a top bun on her top of her head. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, cool. Like, so, I get back and I'm like, and I'm going through the gamut of, did I actually see a chick just shape shift in front of me? Did I have a weird psychic vision? Like, did I like what? I mean, because it looked like, from my perception, it looked like this chick changed into another chick in front of me. But that's not even the interesting thing. The interesting thing is Amy Eskridge. I then went and looked up the girl who had the things burned or whatever. And Amy Eskridge is the one who came up. And she's a scientist who was like some really gifted, like free energy researcher who was working for, I don't know, some in Huntsville, Alabama. And then I still, like, this is how dense sometimes I can be. I still didn't even look into her like stuff, right? And then a couple of weeks ago, or like a week ago, I told this shapeshifter story to my friend Tyler, who was like, oh dude, I just watched this Michael Salla video, and this Uber driver had Amy Eskridge get in the car like a month ago, like about the same time I saw her, and tell him that she's still alive and she's working on all this free energy stuff like underground in like a bunker in Alabama or something. And then so today, like right before I got on here, I decided to finally look up what this girl actually talked about. And so yeah, she's talking about how like there's actually, okay, this is Amy Eskridge's thing that she said before she passed away, was she was saying that, like, guys, we are in a timeline war, and what's happening is that there is a catastrophe that's going to happen around 2029, and like 90% of the world's going to die, and the billionaires are building bunkers right now to like protect themselves from it, and the other people who they're like 2 to 10% that are going to survive end up in the future having like there's like a timeline war between those that went into the bunkers and those that survived Mad Max style naturally. And then they're like the ones coming back and messing with our timeline war. So like, I don't know if it's true or not, but like I have had other visions and visitations about something very similar before. So this is the first. So I'm a little bit freaking out because I just didn't realize that they were connected anyway until about 10 minutes ago before we went live. So that's why I was like, guys.
Well, I have so much to say about that. 2029, they say, like even Greg Braden talks about this, that there will be this Apophis body, celestial body, that is going to come close to the Earth. And then it's going to block like all satellite communication, all form of technologies. And perhaps that's one of the things that they're tapping into, like perhaps even collapsing with the Earth. So far, the predictions have said that it won't hit the Earth, yet it will go close enough to actually like mess with all the technology on Earth. And about the bunkers and so forth, I had a vision like a few months ago. I even shared this with JP. So I was in this landscape, beautiful landscape with mountains and so forth. And then I was with someone, and I felt the urge to leave that space and go to the next scenario. So then I did. And where I was led to were these hot springs. And there was people, like in the hot springs, taking a dive, having a dive and so forth. So then I went into this crystalline, like this turquoise crystalline waters, dived in and went to the other side of the hot springs. Like, let's say there was a cave and then you like a cenote, kind of a cenote.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I dived and went into the other part that was inside the cave. And then these ant beings came to me and telepathically told me, we were waiting for you. So then they started giving me other type of messages. And before we left, because they were already telling me that we needed to go to another place, I just looked back at me and everything was black. like pitch black, no people, no humans anymore, everything black. And then they took me to an ark in Portugal, and in that ark there were these Nordics, and they had all these type of technologies that of course they were giving me messages about some technologies that we need to bring for when the time comes. Not new, they were used by the ancient ones, but it's actually to, some of them involve using water mirrors, like diving, like digging holes. And of course, this was another substance. This was not water, but it was like pitch black again, so that we start like forecasting the stars, the events as they used to, like creating that predictability.
Like obsidian mirrors kind of thing.
Kind of, but with water, and but they use the obsidian pretty much with water actually to have premonitions as oracle tech. So for me, the message that I have been getting with the ant beings is that the upcoming years, it's important to come together, start creating these communities. I've told you this, Nikki, and even I think that to you as well, Frank, to build these communities with a very specific infrastructure that just in a case of a rainy day, that has like the underground shafts, that has, of course, also the other type of structures. Yet even something crazy that I saw in Sedona, now that we were there, and I think that it's not only in Sedona, it's happening in many places, because I have heard that there are a lot of ants coming to the surface, but in a very weird way, that they are creating holes one after the other, like 1,000 of them. I went to this farm that some friends have in Cornville, which is like 45 minutes away from Sedona. And like crazy, the amount of ant holes that there were in the land active. So that means also that for every ant hole, there needs to be one ant queen. So whether there are like a lot of ant queens, like reproducing themselves, and also that they are coming out to give us a message that something is happening underground, and also to exchange codes, to make themselves seen. So, yeah.
Okay, so about a week ago now, and I don't know whether I've told either of you about this because I think I haven't really been in touch, but this woman called the office about the conference, and she had some dietary restrictions that were like, there's just no way I can do vegan and or vegetarian, and I can do like gluten free, but it like gets complicated if you've got a gut, substance. Anyways,
Right.
let me call her. She's probably.
Oh,
Frank.
She didn't really.
Oh, you cut out just a little bit.
Okay. She didn't
So you
really
call
want
her.
to. She didn't really want to talk about the dietary thing. She wanted to talk to me. I'm like, well, you could have just asked because they would have put you in touch. But she ends up driving 3 hours to come and see me. And she just asked, I said, well, if you don't mind following me, because I have a lot of stuff going on, it's fine. Because I don't want to say no. I could tell she had something, right? So she spent 3 or 4 hours with me. I showed her a few things, right? And gave her a little tour. I showed her where the conference was going to be. And she had worked with two of the guys in the Montauk project. Shoot, if you say their names, it's like those guys had looked for her because, and they've now both passed. And she showed me a video of her interviewing both of them at their homes, them showing the frequency. Both of them had been working on really crazy, interesting technology stuff, right? They told her, they found her, they said, we manifested you as a baby from the future and you don't know anything about it. And we needed to tell you. And anyway, so they were basically kind of reading her in on what was going on and why she was here, because she's one of those people that felt dropped off on a spaceship kind of a people. Okay, that's not even the weird part of the story. So she's then becomes friends, and she's writing books about, you know, the experiments and Montauk and all the stuff, right? I mean, okay, there's probably a lot of people that don't know a lot what I'm talking about. It was basically coming out now. It was rumored for a long time, but now the papers have come out. They actually were doing these projects that involved
Again.
I know.
Just when he's going to hit the
just the highlight. Frank, you're frozen.
There we are. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
You froze for like, I don't know, 30 seconds. Okay,
yeah,
just at the juicy part. Montauk.
Yeah, the fiber line for my house is falling down in the backyard, and I've called everybody, so it's probably something to do with that. Either that or the same guys that were messing with me and JP the other day are back.
Well, anyway. It's a big event, Frank, so don't be surprised that there will be all type of energies trying to approach to you.
So Montauk. So she, you know, they had recovered just some of the documents they've recovered, or like a power bill for this base that was closed that was costing back then $27,000 a month of power, right? Anyway, so she's writing books about it, doing conferences and things. And this guy comes, and he's very chatty, and he buys all her books, and he, you know, keeps in contact and reads them all and starts a relationship. And he's a finance guy. He has to go to New York every once in a while for a couple of days. And she said he would come back, and he would just be like, she goes, it would be like they made a clone, but it wasn't quite right, but it was almost all the same. She said, but it didn't throw me off that much, right? And she said, but then I would get pregnant, and 2 months pregnant, and then it would just be gone, like no miscarriage, nothing. You know, we've heard these stories, right? Yes. Now here's a woman sitting across from me, looking me in the eye, telling me this, right? It happened twice. She goes, then she asked me this question. She goes, now is it normal? Like, he goes away for a weekend, comes back, and, you know, and she was real embarrassed. I'm like, listen, I majored in human sexuality. I'm practically 70. I grew up in the 70s. I'm not even going to blush. I don't care what you have to say. She goes, well, his male part, you know, is it normal? He goes away and it's like this big, and he comes back and it's this big, you know, after 4 days. And I was like,
not normal.
I think we both know the answer to that, right? Like, you don't need to ask me this, right? So she said, well, we were getting into making love. And she said, all of a sudden, it's like I'm with an Italian gigolo. He like knows every spot, and he's just like working me like a violin, right? And she said she's in the throes of and she says, and he feels like way bigger than he's ever been, right? And but she's like in the throes of ecstasy. Opens her eyes, and it's not a human on top of her, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Immediately, you know, that adrenaline, she throws him off. Well, apparently, whatever his male part was had a hook, and it ripped her open. And so she's screaming, right? And he just looks at her and goes, sleep. And she said she went unconscious, woke up. It was like 5 hours later, blood everywhere. She had to go to the emergency room. Everything that he had, because he had been in her house for years, was gone, and he vanished, right?
Wow.
And she hadn't told anybody this. Like, she's sitting across from me, and I'm seeing like the, you know, in her face, so I mean, that was a couple of days ago. I had somebody look at me. I mean, this is not the first time. Billy Corgan, the lead singer.
I was going to say, Billy Corgan of the Fashion Pumpkins had a similar story. He was in the middle of Cordis, and he said the chick literally shapeshift in front of him.
And he's talked about it in public, and he won't say the name. It's somebody actually prominent, right? So these things sound crazy, wacky, whatever. But like the first chapters of my book, I'm talking about we are blind. We do not know what's going on around us. And it's been on purpose that we've been blinded. We are being used, and these things are out there, and they're you know, we don't really know what is going on, right? I mean, we need our intuition, our senses of being able to have that gut feeling. It's one thing when you hang around with like Emery or JP, those guys are just completely in their gut, you know, that like they feel something, they immediately they take it seriously. Like in the middle of the interview when JP jumps up and goes and looks out his window, you know, there's a shade like right in the middle of the sentence, right? and there was somebody in his driveway pointing a thing at him that he could feel. Put his helmet on. So anyway, it was just so interesting that you brought that up. This just happened. I haven't really talked about it a lot because it it seemed like a real kind of personal story and kind of traumatic. And probably Preston Nichols was one of the guys that she had looked her up and she has interviews with, because it probably wouldn't be really hard to figure out who she was, but she was completely traumatized by it. And she's kind of gone out of this world. So her stepping her toe back into disclosure at Mackinaw was kind of the first thing for her to kind of come back into this world, and you can imagine that. I mean, what kind of a violation is that? I mean, I had horrible physical things happen to me similar from the time when I was 10 years old. That there's a video online if you want to look it up. My name with UFO, you'll find it. But I was talking to Corrado Malanga and his people in Italy, and not many people here know about him, but there he is revered. I mean, that conference room with 1,000 people for the second Sphinx was there because of him. And I was just talking to these people today. I said, can I talk about this? Because he has not put his stuff in English because he says he doesn't want to be murdered. But he's starting to do things in English and we're helping him, right? He has a test he can do on people to tell whether they've been messed with or if they had implants or whatever. And then he's also got a therapy thing for people because it's traumatic. Like there's a morphogenic that you absorb it, even if you're not remembering it, it's very traumatic and you hold it. And so he's got it's a incredible source of information, and he's very scientific, but it just has not been exposed to us here. So anyway,
it is so weird, the amount of science or the things that are hidden from us all, or that never make it to the light of day, and that's been happening for a really long time. I don't know. I feel like something is in the air is changing. Something's changing. And I also feel like we have a lot more control of timelines than we think. So that is what we really got to we're not hopeless or helpless to any of this. I think there's, go ahead.
Well, actually, if we go through the quantum theory, the unified field, we are capable to tap into any possible timeline for us to bring it into this reality. We are that powerful. We can just come together, critical mass, focus on the timeline, the highest timeline that we choose to embody as a collective, and bring it online. Like, for instance, when you were talking about the shape shifting, you guys, I was like, well, I also can shape shift, not in that way, but I have been taking photos where people say, like, who is that? That's me, depending on the frequency of the temple where I am at, or the codes of the space. And it's not just me. We all have that capability, because as we see the mimetism in other animals, we're capable. We have those genes. We just need to activate them. So for me, let's say one of the reasons why we are becoming aware of that is because it's time for us to activate it within us. Perhaps not for nefarious purposes, of course, yet to actually start tapping more into our multidimensional body. And this is very much what I will also be talking about in Mackinaw, by the way, because for me, yes, this reality could be scary, yet now that you mentioned this, Nikki, we're capable to bring in the reality that we choose to. That is our choice. That is our sovereignty. It depends on our will, and for me, a critical thing is just to implement those technologies that we see without, activate them within, all those crazy technologies. Because
I don't want to live in Mad Max, and I don't want to have a bunch of, perpetrating aliens coming and doing whatever they want to do with us, so I'd be like, cancel, delete. I'm going to write this into the reality. I don't know.
So the one thing I'm embarrassed of and proud of at the same time is, if you watch the video when JP jumps up and he sees the person outside, immediately my hands went like this because I'm used to like protective barrier, but I feel it go through my hands. I was like, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm on camera right now. Nobody knows what I'm doing. So I kind of like moved the hand off to the side because I was like, protect JP, because this is one thing that I also want to get across at this conference is exactly what you're saying, is that the only reason that we have no idea how powerful we are is because we have been told we're not powerful. We have been told we have to have this guy handle this, and this guy has to do this for us. We have to look for this answer. We have to take back our agency and our connection to the divine spark. And as we do, everything becomes much more commandable, within our command, right? And within our control. So I think because we were telling like these freaky stories, and it can be a little terrifying. And that was exactly, actually, I just 2 days ago, we have mutual friends that are working on things in a foreign country, and there's this demon coming forward and trying to take credit, putting everybody else down. And he's got another doctor with him who's like been spreading horrible stories about this like Christ-like friend of mine that's like just been working his ass off for years to make this stuff happen. And I could just sense this is not normal, right? So Tony, okay, I'm not going to say the last thing because I don't have permission, but okay, famous remote viewer, because I was like, it became apparent to like a bunch of us this was going on, and so a group of remote viewers looked into the situation, right? So remote viewing, just for anybody who's not acquainted, is you can look it up. This is something that our government's done. They actually have, their procedures online and things that you do. But I literally have had the experience. I was with YssaH once on the dig when I had a remote viewer in Australia telling me about a tree with a vine next to a cave, and she drew it, and it was like, well, that's where we were digging, right? We had written numbers on a piece of paper, and I sent her a picture of it. That's all she had. She didn't know anything else. I was in the middle of the desert, and she was in Australia, and she said, well, I want to help you. And I see this big square cube, it's like a big cube square. And I didn't realize at the time I was crawling under a rock that was a big cube square till I had pulled the artifact out, right? Yeah. So I just say that because your government and other governments have put a lot of time into studying that it's a real thing. It's there are stories about the guy that saw the Russian submarine that was completely didn't fit any other scenario, described it perfectly when it was going to be put out. There wasn't a channel to launch it, so they thought he was crazy. And then right before it was launched, they dug the channel and put it out. So this remote viewer viewed this demon and went, oh, yeah, totally. Cabal all the way, has staff, has money, blah, blah, blah. Because I was like, okay, what do I do? Do I make a coloring book? Mr. Rogers video? How do I handle a demon here? And because sometimes, and then JP is spooky, right? So right in the middle of the thing, he's turning to me and he's going, now don't be putting wood on the fire because the fire gets bigger, right? As I'm thinking about this. And then JP is the reason this conference is happening, because I said to him, I said, JP, it just occurred to me, I thought that you misconstrued, our conversation about going out with a bag and a pine cone. That's a whole nother story, right? I said, now I know you saw it, and he goes, yeah. And he starts describing the whole scene. You got a bunch of people. We're in a field. There's a big sky. I have a bag, and there's a pine cone, and then ships are coming down, and I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah. So because when you were talking about a vision, it's like I'm always wanting to ground these things because I know you guys and I've seen things, right? But I also deal with like 1,000 muggles a day, right? And so I'm always looking for the way in to get through and help them open their eyes and see, because every time we get a crack through of light through to somebody that's been just kind of embedded in this matrix of lies and deception, it's helping to for all of us to manifest a field that we have better control over, that we can make it into something that's good for us rather than having us be controlled, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, you guys were talking about the timelines, and now you were also talking about consciousness transference. That's how I call it, you know. I would also love to hear your input on that in a bit, Nikki. But I just want to say that I was listening the other day, and for me, it was like such a confirmation, not needed yet. You know, it's always nice when you see that people is tapping into the same informational field. So for instance, this the transference of consciousness has even been used by monarchs. You know, like when one monarch passes away, you know, the body
Mm-hmm.
do very specific ceremonies where they transfer their consciousness to the one that is coming. Some people attribute it to these huge rituals involving, you know, like all type of things. Yet at some point, some people even have tapped into AI, like advanced forms of AI, because again, we know that the ones behind monarchy, not all of them, of course, but some of them have pretty much contact, or they are the same come from very specific galactic groups that have access to that level of technology that you can place in, like what Elon Musk wants to do. You know, they were doing it way before.
Like
So
transferring your consciousness to by a machine.
exactly. So you're uploading all the consciousnesses of all the other monarchs, and then you have someone that is barely anymore the imprint of who that person was. You know, it's like the full communion of all these beings, which is very interesting when you say how it is reverse engineering our multidimensional body, because how many dialogues we're having or are taking place in our own mind, you know, like different versions of you, Nikki, or different versions of you, Frank, different fractals all the time. Da, 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 da. But it's not the same being, same source, than being other beings that have different purposes of all type. So what do you think about that, Nikki? You know, like how
I mean, like well, first of all, I actually think AI has existed before now. This is not AI is not new. I don't believe it's new at all. And then I mean, and my main thing I focus on is, ancient archaeology, and it's not like what they're telling us it is. Like I mean, timelines and the way that they say this begat this, this begat this, it's just not true. And there's so much stuff that doesn't fit, doesn't make sense. And I think like with consciousness, I feel like when they talk about how like all time is now and everything's happening right now, and it's just kind of like you have to like learn how to like roll into the timeline that you want to be in. I mean, I think we can do it. We just have to actually stop pretending we don't remember how to do it. And we actually have to like just take our own agency and just do it. And I'm even one like saying that and not even sometimes knowing how do I like, I was talking to Arcturus Raw yesterday, and he was like, your eyes aren't just receivers, they're also projectors. He's like, if you look at the way that they're actually like the cone, the funnel, the way it's actually, we're actually projecting our desired reality out as well as receiving light codes. So if you really start feeling into the fact that we have instrumentation that does look like the way a projector looks, that's like there's something going on with that. But I mean, also in terms of just continuation of consciousness, I think like something that always sticks with me is like I've seen myself when I was a little kid. I saw myself as like this age now, and I was in the fifth grade, and I was on the playground, and I just had this like my one friend didn't come to school that day, so I was having to swing by myself or something. And then I remember I felt this like compulsion to go. I looked over at and the fence line, there was this lady standing there, and I was like, oh, and I had this compulsion to go over there. So I walked over there, and then I looked at her, and then I was like, oh, you're me. And she was like, yeah. And then she said to me, you just had to see me. That's all that was necessary. And I said, oh, okay, old Nikki. And then the bell rang for me to go inside. And I was like, oh, I got to go. And she's like, okay, that's fine. And then I left, and I told my mom, I told the teacher, my mom's like, why are you talking to strangers like that? Why would you just go up and talk to some strange mom? Nobody believed anything I said. So I was like, all right, whatever. But I've known that time travel is real since I was a little kid because I've seen my older self. Now I guess I probably should go back to my elementary school soon or something like now, because I'm about the age that I saw myself at. I don't really know. But I do think like time is bendable, it's fixable, and it's like there's so much happening with people talking about like, I'm not scared of losing consciousness and then like having to continue it on in some like weird, like material reductionist way. Like I've taken enough psychedelics that I've like busted out that I'm like, we're gonna be fine after this, guys. It's okay. But I think there's the people who are really wanting to hold on to this their limited framework, like the billionaires wanting to transfer themselves into machines, are just really ultimately scared of death, and then they have no confidence that there's anything else after this. And believe me, I mean, you don't have to believe me, but I'll just tell you from my own experience, it's this is not the best there is. There's
Yeah.
cooler places than this, and but at the same time, we are here. We decided that you chose to be here at this time. Why'd you choose to be here at this time? What are you going to do? Like, I don't know. Like, you really ought to examine what that is for you, and don't like have somebody else tell you what that is. And it should be its own thing.
You
So
know,
go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, well, I want to ask you later one of your experiences as a kid, Frank. I just want to share before, because there are a few things. One, when you saw yourself, Nikki, like you created that paradox.
Yeah.
This is what I have been tapping into that will be taking place yet now with the versions of ourselves. Not everyone, of course, but the light version of ourselves, our plasma version of ourselves, which is where we are heading to. So I have seen that many of these technologies of these plasmoids, spectral spheres, and so forth, one of the purposes that they have is communicate with ourselves, with like us with ourselves in this version, to actually create that collective paradox that will generate such a torsion in the space-time fabric, because we know that even though the continuum of space-time is of course non-linear, but the thing is that when we as an egregor start believing in something, then we're creating that reality, of course. So then that creates like anchors within the space-time fabric. So you create a collective paradox. All those anchors that were created through a belief system, they collapse, they release, and then we step up, we move forward into the alignment of the cosmic time, which is, just that recollection of seeing ourselves as plasma beings, where we are heading to. So that's one thing. And another thing, Frank, about what you mentioned, you and your drawing book, which I love, that is high technology. I remember I once was watching a cartoon with Sufi, and it's the name is Ladybug, and there is one guy that has a power of drawing things and then they materialize. And at that time, I was like, oh, that's cool. I draw, I paint. So, but then I started remembering that and I don't know if I have shared this with you, Frank, surely not with you, Nikki, but they would put me in one of the times that they would take me as a preparation for something. They would place me in front of tapestry, something that I would have like a huge emotional connection with. And until I made it move, bring it as a hologram, make each particle of each gradient of light spin so fast that then it would raise its frequency, restore its holographic nature, and then being capable to move as a movie, So I am pretty sure that you're doing something like that, Frank. Just wanted to bring that to the table.
You just pulled out the layer off the layer off the layer of how it all works. So you tend to do that. You tend to like even tell us things that haven't, no one's invented in this timeline yet, and explain it from a complete constructionist level. But so okay, AI. Like this is not a spoiler but this is in my book, but it ties to this. So neurons from your brain are just like wires. They just go from this to this. They don't have processing power, right? So they put a bunch of them in a petri dish and just a bunch of brain neurons, and then they surrounded it with electrodes and hooked it to a video display with the game Pong, which is a very, very, very old video game where you've got bang, bump, bump. You're playing ping pong, and it's very slow, right? Now, this has no processing power at all. It's just neurons in a petri dish with electrons around it. And you can look on the internet and you can see neurons somehow learn to play Pong better than I play it, right? And and as you're watching it, so I had written all about this in the book because it has other, it ties into how there's a doctor who was studying people that had transplants. And the one thing that I wanted to be very meticulous about this, but I could not get any records on the little girl because she was a minor. But he had hundreds of other stories, but just this particular one of the little girl I wanted because she had gotten a heart transplant from a girl who had been murdered. And then she was able to remember enough details of the murder, they convicted the murderer, right?
Oh, right.
So just as I was going to press on the book, I had to stop because the same guys that did the neuron dish that did Pong were able to make it play the game Doom, right? Now, Doom is a game that isn't just like ping, ping, ping. It's like you're going down a hallway, something pops out, you got your first-person shooter. It's like the level of complexity is so incredible that I don't have a metaphor for this because I like to have a metaphor of how crazy this is to go from Pong to Doom with just neurons in a jar. So what I'm tying this together with is like AI, right? You got circuits, you got things thinking, you got stuff going. Now this is organic, this is wet where it's neurons in a jar, but they're picking up from a field. They're learning from the field because there's not a processor how to play Pong, now how to play Doom, which is like unbelievable, right? And then you've got a little girl who's, got pulled down this information from this heart, which is, it shows us where antennas, this flesh, this blood are antennas. In the book, it gets into, I tie this to mummification and DNA and blah, blah, blah. But as far as like this conversation goes, how hard is it to imagine that you've got these circuits that are making decisions, thinking, going back and forth, blah, 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 that they don't become conscious, and maybe not in the same way that we understand it. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's the first time ever anyway, too. I'm just saying if consciousness can be tapped into in that way, there's so many, you get into like what Nassim Haramein talks about, how just the entire universe is just filled with these clouds of plasma that we know are intelligently interacting. They're billions of years old, and they're doing things, right? And and we're talking about now shape-shifting beings. Let's say they're maybe it's a mask that they could pull over our the way we perceive, right? Or maybe it's something physiological that's actually happening with the matter and the physics of the body. But either way, consciousness is like the native indigenous people have always talked about. Everything is holy. Everything is it's part of the Great Spirit, right? Which is their way of saying the same thing. So we're just kind of slow to the party of understanding this, as far as mainstream.
And I mean, I think I talked to you about this when I saw you, YssaH, but I have a memory of, and I don't know if memory is necessarily always in the past. It could be in the future. I don't really know. But there is a time space where I have visited multiple times, whether in dream time and or in just my download, knowingness that has come to me. But I've definitely seen a time where we physically are able to get our body of light within so every single, we are like these light bulbs that can turn themselves on, but we just aren't collectively doing it. And it's almost like we have some limitation beliefs that are blocking us from it right now. But I mean, from what I understand and what I remember about it, it's like there's like from your heart to your crown, there's one pyramid, and then from your heart to your root, there's another pyramid. You have to rotate them. It's different per person. Like you have to like rotate them so fast that they do merge into a Merkaba, but it doesn't even look like a Merkaba because it just looks like some weird, like when I've seen it happen in my thing, it doesn't look like this, but it is this, right? It's like the two have to go together. This is technically a Merkaba. And I actually do think like that's what the pyramids are. Like I think they're a pyramid on top and on bottom. But so what is that called? Oxahedron or whatever.
Tetrahedron, the one that you have in your hand.
This one's a Merkaba, but it's like an oxahedron is when like if you pull these two up, and then so it's like a pyramid on the top and a pyramid on the bottom. But anyway, like you have this within your like energy bodies, and we are more electricity than we are, like for me, DNA is just building blocks of a house, but it's not the architect and it's not the blueprints, right? Like that all comes through something else that's going on. And if you really want to like activate like more, you have to figure out how to like spin this shit so fast, and like it's going to go, I just know they go in opposite directions. Like one, like you may go right on your upper one and left on your bottom one, or vice versa, or whatever. And you have to get so comfortable of doing that we just turn on like light bulbs, and then we're able to like travel like instant speeds and all kinds of stuff. Like I don't know if that's just like a crazy dream that I sometimes like wish is true. It's like a wish, or if but it feels like the quality of a memory. So that is something that we have to just like, and I think we have to ideate and say these things out loud, because we have to, like, there's going to be some kid or something that hears us and goes, oh yeah, I know, I remember that. I know how to do that. Here, boom.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, Nikki. And again, like I will be talking, like going deep into this at the disclosure in Mackinaw. Frank has seen part because I'm coming up with more and more information. Yet the thing is that even our DNA, it's like when we isolate our DNA as just part of our biology, how we were taught, that's where, okay, so I have the information of my grandparents, great grandparents, and like even you can add the soul, like, yeah, my soul memories. But actually DNA is connecting to the information of the whole universe, is the space-time fabric. So even the structure, the geometrical structure of the DNA is space geometry. And that which you explained, as the Merkaba, it's beyond the cube. Kaba is cube, Mer is beyond. So it's how I see it sometimes is like we're in this incubation, until we fully remember. And then we unfold that cube, and then we become that Christ consciousness, which is the rainbow consciousness, which is the plasma consciousness. Because for me, like the information that I have tapped into and how they encoded it, everything in ancient textbooks, it says it, like they removed the parts that connect us to that electric field, to that plasma field, to that enlightenment. And it's like, it's just a matter of remembering, as you said, memory, like past, future, present, whatever, is just information. It's information that we're just bringing into our awareness, and embodying it. How do you experience it, Frank?
You're making me, this is probably on point, off point, but the people that I know that have been in government programs where they get them to do terrible things because they'll say, oh, that kid's not going to remember anything because we're going to erase their memory, right? But then after about 11 years, it seems to be, it starts coming back because the memory is not in the head. Memory is out there. The antenna is still here. It still pulls it in. And so I also have a feeling that these memories that we're talking about, the ones of how to connect and change and adapt, like what our reality is, have been blocked, in a similar way. There's some kind of frequency, something happening, some kind of thing there. And some of us break through, some of the great masters break through, some of them come back and teach us things of, quieting ourselves and tuning in or whatever. But I feel like my intuition is that we are moving into a frequency or a space where there's just, they got no way. They can't do anything else, right? It's just gonna happen. And I think that's the importance of what we're doing here, like this conference is doing, is that we are all alive at an incredible time, and the changes that are going to happen are going to be very hard for a lot of people that have been. They're good people. They're doing what they're told. They've been indoctrinated. You know, the programming is professional. It's relentless. It's intravenous. It's like electronically supported, and it's culturally supported, and and there's penalties for it. And you know, this part of like that's part of what really came together for me for that book. I was like, what is going on? This none of this makes sense to me, because everything for me has to be a story. It has to make sense until I look at it as a control system. Okay, who's using us? What's the purpose? You know, how do we, you know, so basically what I say is I'm going to show you the cage and leave the door open. Okay. So you guys can leave if you want to.
Yeah.
And, you know, because otherwise it's so easy to stay blinded and to ignore all this evidence. Not you guys. You guys are like walking right out of the matrix all the time. You know, it's just like it's crashing around you. You know, but it's our field that we need to get enough of a number where our field gets strong enough where we can kind of like start surfing this thing and moving the wave where we want it to go. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the things I think about what's important about conferences or meeting up or going to tours or going to, you know, just stuff like go meet people in person. Because yeah, we do deal with like, you know, whatever we were calling it 3D, but like we deal with real life all the time, paying bills and whatever existing in the universe and reality. And that beats you down if you don't find other people that are also open to this being more than what's told to you. It gets to you a little bit. So it's like it's nice to create a community of just somebody else who, I don't know, like, and we're all at different levels. Like some, like, you know, some people are like, I don't think we've been to the moon. I don't even know what I think the moon is. Like, I don't know what's going on at the moon. But some people are like, no, we have bases on the moon. We have somebody. I don't know. I don't really care. But at least we're questioning the narrative about the moon. Like you're gonna meet people who have such different perspectives within this thing. But the point of all of this really is that like we're like no man's an island. We're not going to get out of this game alone. We've got to play together. Like we really got to figure out like, and I'm realizing that more and more because I'm typically to be a person who wants to be an island. You know, I'm one of those people who's just like, yeah, I could figure this shit out by myself. Don't talk to me. But I can't, and I'm not. And we need each other's helps with things. We need little pieces of, I need your little piece of the puzzle. You need my little piece of the puzzle. And when you meet somebody in person and you get it going, yeah, it's Charlie. I love Charlie. Then it's very powerful, you guys. So don't underestimate the value of meeting up in person for 5D kind of things.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because I remember Emery said that once you enter a conference and start connecting, and not firstly a conference, you know, any type of this, like any type of event of this nature, once you enter, you will never be the same. And even though that happens all the time, when you get into this place with like-minded people, your DNA starts to activate impressively, because your codes acknowledge, like my codes acknowledge your codes. So then like we start evolving in a, like potentially definitely more than if we were at home, you know, by ourselves, because you're amplifying the field, the unified field of resonance, of coherence. And for me, coherence is so important for light embodiment, for the highest timeline. You know, you were talking about not Stargates, but all these technologies that are messing up with timelines. And what came to me is like the way that we have been going beyond that foreplay is by owning our DNA. Why? Because for me, our DNA again is entangled to the space-time fabric. So if we own our own timelines represented in each sequence of the DNA, then as much as they want to mess up, it won't happen because they are anchored information. We are grounding it, we're embodying it. And this is also something very distorted from the new age, is like, don't ground, it's like, don't tap into this reality, it sucks. Because that's actually how they hijack our vessel, how they can hijack our energy more, because we are not owning it,
Yeah.
so owning our body, our DNA, it's one of the reasons why we're going beyond those manipulations, those time manipulations, because again, time is memory. It's put in other ways, like the way that the cycles of those memories are put together, the space, let's say the space memory network is the one that is anchoring actually all those timelines. So then again, the more that we remember, it's also the way that we become immune to those timeline shifts. And even though there is something that I have been tapping into for a while now, that Atlantis, what happened, the last cataclysm, younger Dryas, and so forth, for me, they were messing up with the timelines as well.
Yeah.
There were so many Mandela effects taking place. This is why you recall something, why Frank remembers another thing, like, and because all those things happened. So we're tapping into those different realities that truly took place. So they are trying to take us to the same place if we allow that. So you might say,
Exactly.
okay, so are you saying that in that time they didn't own their DNA because apparently they were highly advanced in their consciousness? The thing is that there was a rupture, what I remember, with the heart and the mind. It was very much everything left to the thought and very much left aside the heart. So I also know that if you want to tap into the purest memories, into the primordial field, tap into the memories of the neurons in your heart, you know, in all your three brains, also the gut brain, as Frank was also mentioning, the importance of the gut brain, very much connected to the intuition as well, to your three brains. Yet the heart ones, I feel that they they remained pure, and because they cannot be hijacked, because the heart is the power source that not only keeps your vessel, your physical vessel, alive or not, it's actually the capability of transmitting purely the primordial field or source, you know, due to its own nature. So, yeah.
Well, one of my friends, Anne Ishita, she has I think you know her, Isha, but she has a channel, and she always says it's called Skin Suit Manual, and she says if you aren't programming your reality, somebody else is going to program it for you. And and that's like her like theme that she says all the time. She's just like, you better program your own reality, or somebody else will do it. And I do feel like with memory, I do feel like our memory has been hijacked. Okay, cool. But instead of playing victim, you can force your own, like, stop saying I don't remember my dreams. Stop saying I don't remember what happened before this lifetime. Stop. Even if you don't like remember it, like, you sit with it and you feel into it until you do remember it, and you don't give the power of words into I don't remember. Like, stop saying I don't remember. That's not good for us. Like, you have to, like yeah, I do think that we're in some like sort of amnesia, like Alzheimer's realm of like, yeah, what up? But still, like, let's you're not going to clear it by going into that. We have to like really, we have to start like trying to have our will be stronger than the forgetting.
Yeah.
So you're making me think of several things here. Yeah. So I think that part of I'm getting back to, like, yes, we need to take back our agency. We need to take back our power. But I also want to acknowledge that there's some bullshit going on, right? And like when I look at the artifacts that I've got, I've seen quite a few myself. I've got a lot of them, are split down the middle. They show like a hybrid kind of thing. Like this mouth is different than this mouth. This eye is different than this eye. This skin might be look like it's scales. This is whatever. And a lot of them have actually. Does this one have?
You showing them at the conference, right? You will have your amazing museum.
Oh, yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah. So we're gonna have there's gonna be about 1/3's here, 1/3's on its way, 1/3's we're praying to get across the border. But I'm seeing DNA, double-strand DNA, all over these artifacts. Dating like Trevor Hawk has come forward with looks like a fourth way to date these. So there's a problem with every kind of dating method. Carbon dating can be contaminated. Yeah. Ceramic magnetic, if you get a magnet in it, you can mess it up. Thermoluminescence, if you don't do it in perfectly a light-proof environment, blah, blah. But when you get all, 2 or 3 or 4 of these methods lining up with the same dates, and you're telling us these are pre-cataclysmic, these are way before what we're told civilization is, and they have double-strand DNA on them. There's been some bullshit going on with DNA before we got here. I mean, before we became like the civilization we're talking about now. And I think that that was probably part of Marco Vagato, who's, bless the man, he's brilliant. But like, he's very academic, and he won't really, I can't really talk too much about these artifacts with him. He just won't have it, but he will go there for Atlantis and stages of Atlantis and the way that they broke down into several factions. And one was a dark one that did experiments combining animals with humans for sexual reasons and really dark ceremonies and evoking things and all this stuff. And which is like, whoa, right? From somebody who's a really straight academic showing me these things that he's found about that. So when we have this cataclysm and a huge fracture and a loss of information, and then we're recovering these artifacts that are made out of the only possible substance that could survive this long without degrading. And it's also a crystal. It's crystalline. I've just like in the last week, it dawned on me, and I got a hold of him. I'm like, wait, this has got sand, which is quartz, and then I looked it up on the machine, and I'm like, okay, if I'm processing this in a certain way, can I tune my crystal, right? And yes, this is like, these are a technology, and so we've got evidence. We've lost a lot of it, but we have, okay, talking about how it's all out there yet, right? The language is on here that's lost. It's very, very old. And YssaH has an idea that it's an algorithm, which could be, but we have a couple of new ways that I'm thinking of, because we don't have a Rosetta Stone of, several languages to help line it up. And in Egypt, I actually witnessed Muhammad Ibrahim discovering the meaning of a hieroglyph that hadn't been known, because if you see it in 2 settings and you look what's around it, you can figure out what it means, right? Well, we don't have that for these, but we have the way these neurons in a dish could pull something out of the air and learn how to play a game, Pong. We have a couple of new tools, and one of them is kind of controversial, and I think I could talk about it. But let me talk about the first one first. First one is Vita Austin is making a language. Basically, simplest way to say it is the language of the Akashic records. She's doing hundreds of thousands of partially frozen water slides to get this language that is like a universal language that's kind of imprinted, in the universe, right? And so the next step with this would be to take some of these thousands of symbols we have and then start asking it to help us read it. We also, for lack of a better word, and I wrote about this in the book too, because I'm kind of insufferable. When I write a book, I've like studied so many things, and I've got them all right at the tip of my tongue, and it's like, well, actually this, right? But the telepathy tape kids, they have, along with like knowing what somebody's thinking and knowing what, and all gathering at night at a virtual place at the hill, right?
Right.
They have access to this Akashic records, and some of them are really excited about helping with decoding these stones. Now, it gets super tricky because it's like, oh, are you using them? Are you, it's very tricky because they don't, the system doesn't tend to give them agency for having needs or wants or interests, right? It's like you're trying to get your own thing out of them or whatever, right? So it's tricky, right? But there's some kids, and I'm not gonna say anymore because I don't want anybody tracking down or getting anybody in trouble, but they're very enthusiastic about helping with this. So not only do we have like the idea of this or the evidence of it, but we can like, use it as a tool. We got like between Vita Austin, like giving us the language, of the Akashic records, and we've got these beautiful, nonverbal autistic kids that are able to communicate it to us. So this didn't exist 10 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. I love what you said because about Vera Austin and also the kids. It reminded me that, for instance, people that were born blind, actually how they see reality is through geometries. If you tell them, okay, so you have a person inside, read its field, how would you draw this person? And they will draw it through geometries. And which brings me also, like in Petra and Jordan, in Jordan, when they would depict the first forms of the primordial feminine, they would call her Alati, which was, or Allahi, which is the feminine form of Allah. They would draw her in geometries because they would say that the primordial forms couldn't be contained in physical matter, that they would expand through geometries as the very same universal language that is geometry itself. So, for instance, when I have read through this very specific system that I designed, the spectral geometry transceiver, now I upgraded it because I'm not only transforming geometries into frequencies, yet also numbers into geometries and then into frequencies. I just did that with the Mayan calendar and data frequency because not, the Mayan calendar is all about algorithms, numerical values. So I transformed that into geometries and then into frequencies, and then shared it with a group that I'm facilitating the online course for the plasma body activation. And they had these huge, intense experiences just by listening to it. I will share it with you guys. I would love to see what you felt, because it's not only that they're algorithms, it's like it's wholeness. You need to go through a whole process of reading. For instance, if you have very geometrical patterns, what I do is read the angles, because then the angles, if they are consistent and they are creating the specific tokens, then they will lead to specific numerical values that then can be translated into more uniform geometries or space geometries, like more symmetrical, and then translated into sound. Because translating into sound directly those languages that are highly asymmetrical, and not random, because for me, they are showing a process. And there are different levels of reading them. For me, the ultimate one, which is how you activate those letters, is amplifying through your own plasma field, detecting and scanning from which part of your DNA or your electromagnetic field they are in resonance with. So then creating a high coupling regime that through that quantum entanglement is going to amplify the spin of those very same glyphs and spin them through your genetic code, spin them. So then each symbol becomes a sphere that contains the pattern of life, which our dear friend Nassim talks about, yet sustained through the vector equilibrium. So it's a stabilized structure that it's like the blueprint of something. You are bringing into the holofractal field a story that then comes alive, because it's telling you how to use the spectral spheres, how to encode them, how to do this, how to do that. So there are different layers, and it's lovely.
So it's like you're, instead of reading music, you're reading frequencies or something. Like you're figuring out how to. That's really cool. And Frank's book does a big section on language too, and about basically we're kind of, dumbing ourselves down in terms of like being mono languaged, and we just have shortened everything, and like whereas like hieroglyphics are, and even a lot of languages like Japanese has like where you phonetically are saying the word, it's like spelled out kind of how it is in English, but then there's those characters where it's like these images have meanings in their own self, right? So there's all this stuff that we're losing so much in translation, and like it's not like Sumerians little was, that's not like phonetic, like they probably didn't talk like 127 725 or whatever. I mean, these were some sort of symbols that translated like reading music.
Yeah. Well, just to add to that, I once was talking to Nassim, and I told him, I'm going to make your formulas into sound. I'm going to transform them into sound. And that's how I got to to create an alphabet that I use every time that I'm, connecting with stargates and so forth, because you can translate every formula into sound. Now imagine having an Nassim's whiteboard, like full of formulas, and then chanting them or playing them into frequencies. It's like you don't need to go through the whole school. You just need to play a frequency, and somehow you're being activated with that.
No wonder you saw those symbols as algorithms, because you're already kind of seeing that. I mean, this is exactly like I try not to lose people, because when you start talking about codes and you start talking about algorithms and you talk about this stuff, it gets, we're so dumbed down that our brains don't even operate the same way. I'm thank you for bringing up that part of the book, because that was a huge revelation for me that came from, it started with listening to the Mayan elders, and some of them they're reciting this language, but they may not have all the components of it yet, but it's a rhythm, and it's a frequency, and and then when I found out that when they were writing, like we were talking about, that this is always the day of the year, which means something that changes everything else, which in other ancient languages, there's mathematics to everything that we have completely lost it. And it's in like every single ancient language that I could find was complex like this. Like like Celtic, those guys held the Romans off. Like the Romans were terrified of these guys, and their language would take like 18 years to become conversant in it. And I say, like, I would not have had to write that book if we still had any of these ancient Hebrew, ancient Sanskrit, Aramaic, Mayan. They were so encoded, and the brains, the people that still could speak some portion, because they're not really intact yet, but the brains completely light differently. But now with the new technology, we can see it makes it think different. And they were all, this is why I want to get back to this thing about, I think it is important for us to understand that there's something going on. They were all stomped up. People were burned at the stake to get rid of these languages.
Codexes were destroyed, everything. Yeah.
So I think the overall thing is, getting our agency back, understanding. The other thing that I talk about is, because you guys both travel a lot too. I mean, there's this group of people here, we got a lot of frequent flyer miles, right? So like I have been, and I know you guys have experienced with really, really poor people. They're, they'll give you their last piece of bread and treat you like their brother, and people are just fucking amazing. They're beautiful. And I mean, you can put rats in a box and put them under pressure and make them attack each other and lose their mind, right? But, human beings, when we are able to, stop being told that we have to have war, that we have to have, we don't have enough, that we're going to all die of this. We're all going to, when that programming goes away and we can take our world back and make it, beautiful for our children, and we love our animals, and we want to go sit in the garden, and we don't want to poison our water, and all of the things that a normal, sane person, not a psychopath that will do anything to keep their control would do. It will change everything. And it's the field, it's the awareness, it's also the consciousness field of enough of us being able to take charge of the reality. Because that's the whole game here. It's like everything that's big, the politics, the sports, the
alcohol,
media,
like with that and your thing, yeah.
Alcohol, boy, alcohol's a big one. I was just having a conversation with my ex today that there was a problem there with alcohol, and the difference of what it does, not just poisoning, but the physical vibration that the tribe he was from wouldn't let anybody do a ceremony unless they hadn't drank for 2 days because of the frequency. And you imagine that every store, every event, every social thing, everything is like religious stuff has alcohol involved in it. And so it makes me think of like, okay, who's doing this, and get the fuck out of here and give us our, place back. Right. So, and I think I'm going to be going, hopefully, in the first part of September and talking to David Icke, because decades that guy's taken so much abuse over this thing. And I'm not saying David Icke is completely right, but I'm telling you, he's not wrong, especially, having the woman come and talk to me a couple of days ago and seeing this person change in front of her, and like something's going on. And,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know it is like shapeshifters are a total David Icke thing that he talked about. So yeah. But I mean, I also respect David Icke in that he's never been a government whore. He's never been like, oh, this party or this party. He's all like, they're all dudes, like they're all the left and the right wing of the same bird, like they're all fooling you, and I've always sort of like been more on that camp where I'm going like, yeah, these are not they do not have anybody's best interest in heart for the most part, that from my opinions. And it's just like, he's on that bandwagon. No wonder he's always been shadow banned. So
my sense is this is parasitic. It's a parasitic kind of thing that's been feeding on us and using us. And, like I like Amir, we are the mighty human, and it's time to take our agency back. And if like the reptilians were here first and they think it's their place and they made some kind of deal or something, well, then let's negotiate it out and stop eating us. And,
yeah, we're here too. So let's figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I'm way into inner earth beings and interdimensionals and intradimensionals and all. I don't know what the hell is going on, but it is fun to talk about. So come talk to us about it, in person.
Yes. Yeah, because also Frank always says that it will be a very interactive event, which I agree. And I know that Nikki as well, Nikki also brought the different night journeys that we will have, like C5 and bringing down spaceships. Perhaps you can jump in one if you want. We can guarantee the ticket going there, but I don't know,
not bad. Yeah.
So that's
sure.
But yet we will be having lots of fun, lots of expansion of consciousness, and mainly, it's not all about the speakers. It's also about you who are coming and nourishing us as well with your presence, with your experiences. Because I'm pretty sure that you, beautiful tribe who are joining us, you have also many, many stories to share with us, and actually it's a feedback. It's an exchange of codes, with one another, not just one way to the other. It's like both sides. So
I met Frank at a conference.
I'm sorry,
yes.
What?
Yep.
I met Frank at a conference. We just started chatting it up. I was like, I like your dog. He's cute. And then the rest
kept running into each other.
Yeah, kept running into each other. And then it was like, bro.
There's something here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a very, very good point, because like for one thing, this conference has a lot of things that I have never seen at a conference before. I mean, okay, let's just talk about real quickly what JP, the pine cone in the bag. We got a guy coming who's ex-military, who's whistleblower, insider, bringing a pine cone given to him by a Nordic being from a ship, right? He is a very intuitive person. He's intuitive this whole conference, by the way, but he thinks he needs to plant a seed in Mackinaw from this pine cone. And YssaH's helping me. She's going to, we're arranging, we've got several, I got one over here, handbags, because of these, ancient images
Now,
of beings with handbags and pine cones. And so I've got 3 or 4, and then my friend Anthony had one. In shipping it broke, but inside of it was black crystal, and I've never seen one like that. It was very heavy, and so he's using some kind of like museum kind of like glue to kind of get it back together, and we're going to just put them all up for JP and let him vibe on which one he wants. I mean, JP over a photograph will go that, so but the museum is you're going to be able to encounter these artifacts that we will explain what, I mean, I've pulled them out of the ground myself. YssaH's, in the desert, like in the middle of nowhere, and we've now learned that they're this polymer that's crazy. 4,500 degrees you have to heat them in order to make these, and they're impervious to hot and cold. They don't allow lichens to grow on them. There's no moisture intrusion on them, and they allow fine lines to be drawn. They're superior to any type of rock on Earth if you wanted to leave a record behind, right? And they're crystalline. And we all know crystals seem to be a transdimensional type of device that could do a lot of things. Nassim's got one that makes a current all the time. A Nordic being, Jan Iridian, gave a Vogel crystal design wrapped with copper and silver, clockwise or counterclockwise, and that makes a current too. It's pulling from somewhere else. JP has encountered crystals on these arc ships that seem to be integral to like the survival of this entire ship, that had emotional effects that made him see past, present, future as he was holding it. And so the what we want is people to walk in, look at these and go, oh, that reminds me of this, or things. You may not be an archaeologist, you may not be think that you're an expert, but you're that space. I want to.
oh,
Sorry, guys. I have a huge thunderstorm that's like on top
that's
of me.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
I'm back. Do you see me? Okay, I'm back. Okay. So the people coming are very important to the experience. We have amazing speakers, people that have been in government programs that are now allowed to speak. And actually, they've been allowed to even say more. Because I was talking the other day, I said, there's probably things that you can't talk about yet. And he goes, well, hey, he signed the paper, So this will be one of the first times that he'll be able to be, in front of people and maybe answer some questions that he couldn't really answer before.
Time for disclosure. Disclosure time. Yeah. I couldn't be more excited about that. And, yeah.
There we go.
Talking about AI being ancient, this type of rocks, like the one that you showed, Frank, the Ojuelos stones.
Those are cool.
Yeah. Yes.
And look at the symbol in the corner of the screen, and then look at that symbol.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking about remote viewing, I translated the code in the corner like 9 years ago, and later on the Buga sphere appeared with this code, which is highly similar and very much in resonance. And actually, other artifacts have been found with literally that code, like the one behind me, So there. Yeah. Oh, look. Yeah. exactly. Wow. 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 Yeah. So I
Yeah,
can't wait.
more.
He
Yeah.
wants to bring them in. Yeah. Yeah. Just a little intro, guys, for what we will be experiencing there in Mackinaw. Wow. Oh,
And then like the Booga has these moon things on it,
that looks
like
even more like the.
Have you guys ever put all of the symbols in AI and tried to see if there's
well,
repeating languages or?
Mark Russell and Anthony Michael, they're both. Mark Russell's starting a whole web page to start compiling these, right? And so I was talking to him because some of these objects, like in Egypt, it's really important what things are around it to help decode
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
So if we just isolate the symbols, that's one thing, right? But the next thing is to also keep track of like what's around the symbol, because there's a reason that these things are together. And this was incredible to me when I saw this, because the Boogosphere, I remember these kind of moon shaped things. Then and then of course the classic Booga thing on it as well. But then, okay.
Yeah. Well, just in my case, like without now all these eye-headed beings and the very same code that I translate as an eye at the center, for me, it's talking about the primordial nexus, and then the reverse engineered version of it, which is the circuitry. Wow. Wow.
And see, this is big. Like I want to have this X-ray. I think there's something inside of it.
There is something inside of it. I'll tell you now. I can feel it. There is something inside of it. Yeah.
So
Don't break it open, Frank.
Yeah.
Non-invasive, like Filippo Biondi is my friend. Okay, we know how to look inside things. We don't have to do.
Right.
Do
Yeah, exactly. Don't
It's
get
not
don't, it's not a geode.
Yeah.
There is an artifact coming that is already over the border that is like this big. It weighs about 80 pounds, and it has like dials on it. I think I've shown both of you pictures of it. It's unbelievable.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so that'll be there. And it has balls like this on each corner, which have the Booga kind of things on it. So now I'd heard from Mark Russell that he was under the impression that the Booga symbols only started occurring over the last few years. But one of the things coming was a gentleman that I know whose his father-in-law passed away, and there was a cabinet in the house that had been locked up for 40 years. They opened it up and was a big thing with a Booga on it. And so that's 40 years ago. So that's coming to Mackinaw. And so I think that they might have been there all the time, but just temporarily, we're only supposed to start discovering them now or something. But his father-in-law had one from 40 years ago. Because I was like, okay, yes. Don't let that end up on eBay. Let me find out.
I also don't exactly know. I know like very basic, like how circuit boards work, but I wonder if there's any kind of like, people who do like hardware engineering with computers, if they could like see maybe there is some sort of actual machinery to this.
That's you read my mind. You see the temples everywhere, and mainly the ones in India, that they rotate like you can spin the rock, that they have a specific sound. They were active, they were rotating. So why not these ones? Why
Yeah.
not these ones? I've seen, like there are boards that are Stargate likes that they can rotate. The thing is that it needs the right amount of energy, of electric field to actually activate that polarization, and then the higher piezoelectric field of the crystals, But for me, they definitely can be activated. The masculine.
I didn't mean to pop that up there that quickly, but I was just going to show.
Did that?
Yeah. So these are all going to be at just the conference, and these are crystal skulls that the two. Well, the one is Sean's on the end there, but the two, we call them the twins. and they are completely covered. You can see this is something we want everybody to look at and help us decode, as well as the frequency of these things are made out of a crystal. You know, they're emitting a frequency and an energy, and along with that, you will see on the table just a glimpse of these tablets, and they're very heavy. They're crystalline tablets, and both sides of them have different engraving. And depending, you know, I want to try to light so you can see both sides of them, but just as and then you can see there's an obsidian ball right there, which is about the size of a bowling ball. That's completely, you know, written and encoded with information and language. You know, and so far you said like the dating that you had done was from the other cave near this, but that was the 17,500. Is that the year, the carbon dating that we're talking about? Yes. From the yeah. So if this in general, it feels like, because there's this where we would have been crawling, that we would have been dead because it would have collapsed, but there was some kind of artificial ceiling that had been built with a primitive concrete, which, you know, we started like noticing this white concrete stuff all over that make it look like an entire tunnel system that was kept the soil from compacting, because we had a lot of, like, it was really bugging, you know. I think, you know, Nikki and Trevor and me were like, this soil is not tight like it should be. You know, you think something's sitting there for thousands of years. And then I was on a cliff in the middle of the freaking, like 200 miles away north, right? And the soil was similar to this last dig in June, where it was very powdery and it came out, you know, it was not like a lot of digging. It came out kind of easy, right? But the pressure was kept off by the rock face over top of it. So the dust had blown in. And so these artifacts came out, you know, beautifully. And it wasn't like you weren't digging hard, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, let me share the
well, just before, just look, guys, at this eye-headed being with the wings. This is the figure that I say that represents the primordial nexus connecting to the light architects. You were mentioning about our eyes, Nikki, in the beginning, what Ra told you. We have black holes in our eyes. So for me, it's talking also about the black hole nexus. You know, this eye-headed being, for me, it's let's say, the highest form of expression of what came later as the circuitry code. This is the reverse engineer reflection of the light architect's nexus, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, I mean, so I'm going to show this. Let's see. Let's go. Remove.
So on this one.
Okay. Yeah, this one. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, guys, I can't control it.
No, that's awesome. Confirmations.
I turned it down because we're chattering is coming, but basically where YssaH's sitting in there that was all a cavity behind a rock wall that when they took the stone out, it was all open. And when she's shining the light, you can see crystal skulls in the ground there. And the one in the back has got the cone head. And the two twins we're talking about coming to Mackinaw are right in front of her there. The camera's in my glasses, so it's a little bit wherever I'm looking, that's where the camera's going. But you can see this is underneath a foundation that was probably there 300 years ago. Like a house was built over it, and it kind of kept it from. Well, it would have made it impossible to dig down and bury these in. And plus, Trevor Grassi was the one that noticed that some of these look like shafts, that they were kind of constructed. You know, it wasn't just a hole in the ground. And these were kind of ritually placed. You could see that there's an order to this. Pretty much a lot of the artifacts there will be in Mackinaw. One of them at the top is it looks like a Toltec head. And you guys thought maybe it was broken or something because the head was loose. And
yes.
It was basically a helmet that came off that exposed a very non-human head underneath that glows. And that will, if
What
everything
happened to
goes
the
well.
very big glowy head?
There's the I mean the Conehead. Has guardianship over that.
Yeah, it's here, and yeah, but it's a stewardship because Frank and I also agreed on that. Now that I'm there, it will be easier for him to also connect with her.
It's like a mother. It's like it's.
I have it here. I can show it to you.
Oh
Nikki.
yeah, these are heavy. She's gonna have to they're substantial, and
Yeah.
and it's like a baby when you hold it. Just this warm, beautiful energy.
Well, now that the video stops, but yes, as Frank was saying, like some of that concrete actually glows in the dark.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so like you can see how deep the tunnel goes, how much we had to dig, which is like how deep, Frank, like from the surface of the earth, like 3 meters of depth easily, right?
So the thing that was amazing though is when you got to that rock wall and you were the one that pulled the rock out and saw the cavity, the hole open behind it. That must have been a moment,
Oh, yeah. That definitely. I think what was more impactful for me was when I put the light on and saw that it was going really deep and that I didn't know where it will lead me to. At that moment, I felt like in an ancient temple, like discovering for the first time, like this ancient chamber and saying, ooh, what I'm going to run into. Because of course it was like, okay, you go, YssaH, because you're the tiniest one. So it was like, okay, so, and I have had experiences that from the other side of the wall, and with Trevor, when we were exploring the other cave, I perfectly listened a serpent ceasing, like I was putting my hand inside and then I heard this and I said, whoa, and then I said, okay, no, there is not a serpent inside. It's another thing. And one of the artifacts that we found was precisely a serpent around a skull. So it was the spirit of the serpent. So here it is. Let me.
Oh, wow. That does look heavy.
It's a rose quartz, right?
Yes.
And that had a helmet on it.
No, this is different. This one, I think it's like a mother energy. It's like this very nurturing, like you.
That's scarab.
When you hold it, yeah, they have big. Some of them have scarabs here, and some of them have them across here. Some of them have both places. And that one, like as you're taking it out, it's like a fireman bucket brigade because it's very heavy and they don't have very much room. So every person as they got it went, oh, like this. It was just like, oh.
Oh yeah.
And I thought about this a lot because when you look at how they were placed, it was very intentional. And there's a green one in there, which probably, if you were looking at value of something, because it's a jadeite and it's extremely hard, almost as hard as a diamond. And I think that was like the yang to the yin. Like the two twins, I think, were like guardians spirits, and that's like the mother, the warmth. And then the other one was like the guy that had to be, yeah, that was the energy one. That one, like that one, I do not want near me, right?
Right.
It was the anomaly, like it was actually bringing something very interesting to the through the electric the electric current.
Yeah, they were doing something there with that. They were making a balance of things, Yeah.
Something for me, this being is actually the one shown as the Atlantean. She was one of those Atlanteans. This is why it was later on shown in that statue that you remove the helmet and there is the cone head being.
Mm-hmm.
For me, she was that being, and it was honoring.
She's like was in a position where she was overlooking the rest of them too. It was a very I don't know. I'm looking to see if I've got the other guy handy. I don't have it handy.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Well, so you guys are going to have a lot of these at the conference.
Yeah, so the guy we're talking about, the Toltec head that comes up, actually, I could probably find it on my phone real quickly and just hold it up. It will be at the conference, and we're going to have some ultraviolet light too, so that we can show you how these glow. It was Bashir, the guy who channels Bashir, I don't know what his real name is, that Trevor Hawk was saying he was doing a reading on them, and he said, have you guys used UV light? You know?
Darren Anka.
Oh yeah, Bashar. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, as well, from the Earth Hour Commission, we are putting together like a huge project of creating museums that are not only, like the orthodox type of museums or those methodical type of structures. It will be more of an activating center, with all these geometries, the polymers constructing the very same structure, so that every person that goes in, it's activated by the codes of these technologies, these beautiful technologies, because for me, they are technologies, so yeah.
Well, so and you're working with like Dr. Lydia DeLeon, who's like her and Arturo have that book, The Power of Sacred Location. And they're the first people that I know of that used scientific records of like geology, radiology, hydrology, the electromagnetics that happen when you've got water flowing through limestone in different locations, and taking health records and psychological records from areas and tying together how a temple worked, and being able to take the instruments and actually be able to measure it scientifically. And so when you're talking about creating a center, Earth Arc Center with these objects, you'll be able to like we were talking about how in that cave, how they took these objects and they were doing something to balance that energy. And we have intuitive people. We now have scientific equipment. We now can measure, like we can photograph auras now, the thing that was always like, woo, woo, your hippie mother with her crystals in her auras, now we can see it, right?
Isn't that fascinating, you guys? It's like when woo woo meets science, and it's like, oh,
It's
well,
like, it's a thing.
Not very much of woo woo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting, super exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's if we're gonna make it stop. All right. Okay. So Toltec head, right? This has got a black light on it, so it's got a kind of gray, right? And so this is the head that we thought was maybe broken because it was like loose, right? So then when we let it play, I'm gonna go forward here. This is what it looked like underneath.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go, and so it slipped off. Like this was kind of an inadvertent video, but like so that comes off. We don't have a good shot of that, but comes off, and that's underneath. I do have a shot of me. I was at the mouth of the cave, so I was the guy that would take them into the sunlight for the first time in how many thousands of years. So I do have a picture there of taking it off there, but that says a lot.
Are you going to have a black light in your display in Mackinaw?
It could happen.
Okay, it should happen.
We're definitely. I'm trying to figure out like how I will do this, because some of these are very active with the black light, and some you want to see under a bright light. And so the less regular light you have, the more brilliantly they glow. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to situate that yet. So we're going to definitely have a black light. Yes.
So guys, whoever join us, be careful and wash your clothes, because there will be black lights. So yeah, no, that's super exciting. I mean, I always say it, Frank, thank you for putting all of this together. And the inside I'm laughing, but like happily laughing, because I was throughout all the process and seeing how it was all coming together in such a harmonic and fast pace, so
It's mad. It's madness. It's
Yeah,
like
I was
complete.
like, wait, you're wanting to do this in 3 months? Where you what?
Yeah, yeah. I got a hold of Nikki.
happening?
I'm like, Nikki, help! I don't know. Like this, everybody keeps saying yes, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, Nikki, thank you as well, because I know that you have been supporting Frank a lot. So as Trevor said, just checking in, Tim. Yeah, we're a beautiful team. I am so grateful for having you guys and putting together this event
Yeah, well,
together.
I think it's going to be fun. So, like,
Yeah.
if you guys want to come chill with me, chill with them, come. It'll be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Frank, you should have put your glasses down and yeah. Yeah, so any details that you want to share with the people, because I know that a lot of people have written to me, like ask for details. I always direct them to the page.
Yeah, so because this is not like most conferences where you go stay at a hotel, right? So this is a campground, and this isn't just a campground, right? It's got cabins. We have 100 cabins at the campground, but you also have another cabin village nearby. We build all the cabins, all the furniture stuff. We have our own wood shops. We have all our own artisans, right? This is not a normal place. This is my little kingdom, okay? You're going to see what my place is like. So we also have a lot of campsites, hundreds of campsites. We have 25 different kinds of campsites, 25 different kinds of cabins. And we also have house rentals that are on the lake. We also have 2 hotels that are like one we call Lake Trail. You can walk down the trail to the lake, and it's got a beautiful view of the Straits of Mackinaw. And the other one's right in town on the sandy beach. But I'm hoping everybody will want to stay right in the campground, because what this conference really is about is going to be not just sitting in a chair in a room and then having a break. It's going to be the interactions, because I want to have we're in a gorgeous place. This place has been named the #1 summertime vacation place by TripAdvisor for like a decade, because when you get here, you'll see why. Like it was so hard. Like JP, we're trying to get his flights together. And yours too, YssaH. It's like, it takes you like forever, because you got to go this airport to this airport to this airport. Now, there's 2 airports here. One that's in the Upper Peninsula, one in the Lower Peninsula. You can arrange, we will shuttle you, because it's not like there's Uber here. We're kind of in the woods, right? But where Michigan's like a hand, we're at the very, very tip of the hand. And then right off of our shore, you're going to look at Mackinaw Island, which is the Native Americans. That's their Garden of Eden. That's where they believe everything began. It's a very sacred place to them. And it's a very interesting place too. There are no motor vehicles allowed. It's all horses and bicycles. And it looks like you're going back in time when you go there. And that's actually where they shot the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve, actually, too. So, and probably not this conference, but maybe we have another one. Like, I would like to get a group over there and give them the Frank tour, because literally it's got a lore. The Native American stories about it are like Lord of the Rings. It's even
Jeez, I saw that.
Yeah.
Right there. I'm like, wow.
Semana is happy. Yeah.
Yes. Well, anyway, so at the campground, what we were going to be meeting in, it was called our rally building, right? And so we're going to take a break in the middle of the day. Like we're going to get together, have a breakfast together, and then we'll have our morning sessions. And then I haven't really done everybody puts a schedule together. What's the schedule? I'm like, okay, we're floating our schedule, because the very first clear night, we're going to be going to our secret location for our sky watch, with our pine cone from the Nordic Being off a spaceship and the handbags, right? And we'll probably have the pop-up museum that night. So it's going to be a very powerful night. And this dark sky area is like I've gone there with a few friends, and like in 45 seconds, ships are showing up, right? And I can't even, JP has done it with 1,000 people, right? So you mix this energy of us together there. And Emery's already asked me, like, can I videotape it? Can I use it? I'm like, everything is for everybody. That's what this is about. We need to get, we need to interact. We need to connect our memories. We need to get things, That's what this is about. Come, bring your energy, help us, understand these mysteries, help us, bring down the memories of who we are, help us take agency back over this realm and make it as beautiful as we know it can be.
Yeah. Well said.
Well said. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When you were saying about like going back in time with the horses and so forth, it reminded me of Cuba. So I wouldn't be surprised that underneath, under the water, there is similar technology because, the places where you have that sensation, it's not just a sensation. Speaking of what we
Right.
were talking at the very beginning of the show, so I'm pretty sure that after this event, it was also soul calling, Frank. Yeah, JP was, like the one, making, pointing it out. Nevertheless, for me, that's also like a huge soul mission. And after that event, things will be taking place in Mackinaw, besides the spaceship that most likely will be coming and say hi. Yeah.
There's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to get some, like I have to finish locking it down, but some night vision goggles as well, because you get plasma beings and you also get cloaked ships that are much easier to see with those. Because this is in my humble opinion, in my research, that some of the guys that have talked about Roswell, when they got there, it was really dark black and it was at night, and it had been a few days after this had happened, and they didn't have those big lights like they have now, right? This is like World War II Jeeps or whatever. And so one of the ship had been ripped open, and one of the guys stuck his head inside, and he could see out like it was daylight, but it was green, like, the night vision goggles. So in my humble opinion, night vision goggles are basically backwards engineered Roswell technology. So that's probably why when you go to Sedona and you go on these UFO tours, or you come to Mackinaw and you use, we're going to get some backwards engineered Roswell technology, you're able to see ships, plasma beings, and other things that you wouldn't normally see. And it's that your consciousness, you don't need to like have a radio. You're us together telling them it's okay, that we want to have that interaction, is what makes it work, and then also all those people watching, because that sky is huge. I mean, you could miss something over here, so we need everybody,
Yes.
Well, one scaredy cat can mess the whole thing up. You have to be open.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, we're going to have a lecture before. Okay. So we have to tell you that, okay, I don't care what you think, or that you think this is crazy or whatever, but when you first see something in the sky like that moving, or a ship or something, some people will get panicked. And so you just need to, and they will leave. If you like freak out, they will leave. So we need to make sure everybody, if we have like a night or two where it's iffy, I have an area where we can go at the campground where it's very dark, and we can have a trial run. We can kind of get everybody warmed up, right? So it looks like it's going to be beautiful all 3 days. Maybe we'll hold that till the third day, but we can do a warm up, because actually we can walk right out of the building. We have this beautiful little bridge with teeny little solar lights on it, and then we can go over to a area with nobody's there, and there's a sky there, and we can have a little practice session, so we can get everybody kind of over the jitters and nerves, because it's not something that most people are used to seeing. And when it happens and it's dramatic, it can be it can give you anxiety, and they respond like they're not what we're going to be bringing down can be it's very benevolent. It's very benevolent, and they do not want to have you be frightened. So thank you for mentioning that, Nikki. And that's something that we want to make sure we're very careful to get everybody prepared mentally for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, any other thing that you want to go through, like sharing with people?
Well, you could just remember the easiest way to find it is if you just remember disclosure in Mackinaw, it'll show up on the search engine. But if you go to Mortals of Earth, it's linked there. Then you can look at the speakers. You can look at the flyer. You can look at everybody's background. You can. It has the links to the campground.
And
So
you're
you,
also, if you can't come in person, you do have a online thing.
oh, so you guys both have coupon codes. So whoever's your favorite, you can use their coupon code here, because if you were going to attend from anywhere on Earth, we'll have an online version, that'll be accessible, and so you can save 10% by giving your coupon code of. Okay,
Nikkiana Jones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so is Nikkiana Jones like the whole thing? Nikkiana Jones, right?
I don't know. I haven't set it up yet.
Oh,
Do I
okay.
have-
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I need to do that.
YssaH, you have yours right.
I'm
YssaH.
going to do Nikkiana Jones. All in one.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
like, there you go, YssaH.
Okay. So YssaH is your coupon for 10%, and then Nikkiana Jones will be set up maybe in an hour after this.
In an hour.
Hurry, calm down.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that will give you access to everything, and we're going to try to have it. There we go. Yeah, we're going to try to have it. Everything, even the Skywatch, will have a camera there for that. That one will. It's a big sky, and sometimes capturing everything with what we have, might be more challenging. But I think Emery is so excited about it that he wants to make sure that he has it captured and he can use it. So we're going to.
He knows what will be taking place.
Yeah, I will tell you stories about that guy. Between him and those guys are spooky. You get them together, who knows, man? I mean, JP held the crystal in his hand that told him the past, the present, and the future, and I see it happening. Like the guy sees stuff that before it happens. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Thank you so much. These are some of my favorite people in the world, and to have them at this conference, you're going to have a chance to get to know them in the way that I do, which is so special. My life is so enriched, so beautiful because I know you guys, and
thank you, Frank.
I'm so excited about sharing you with the people that are coming, and I want you to meet, my brothers and my family and my staff, and I've been telling them all. I said, you have no idea how beautiful these people are. Anyway.
Well, in my eyes, your reflection is so right back at you.
Thank you.
That's a cool saying.
Yeah. A friend once shared that with me, because I said, "Oh, you're amazing," and then he said, "Come, look at me, close in the eye," and then you see, who do you see in the reflection of my eyes? And I say, myself. There you go. And then it was like, of course, we are one. So yeah.
So just, an anecdote on that is I noticed that people, and I mean this, like Christ-like energy, like Trevor Grassi and Filippo Biondi and Louis de Cordier, these people that are just selfless people. I noticed that the people that go after them, it's just it just reveals how their flaws and their faults, I mean, because when you, number one, they would never, none of those guys would ever say anything negative about anybody else, right? And then when you get to meet them, you just feel that energy. And then when I see people attack them for ego, pride, jealousy, or whatever, and the things they say, I'm just like, oh, well, that explains a lot. Oh, I got that now. It's something that I've kind of learned to watch for. Anyway, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You too.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Nikki.
All right, we'll be seeing you guys soon, and then I think we'll do another live stream pretty soon again. So
yes. By the way, tomorrow we have Frank and JP and Trevor Grassi. So
for that.
Wow, I'm the luckiest boy in the world.
Yeah, we're making it big here. Yeah.
Cool.
We're having fun all the way until we meet physically and
in person.
Yeah, can't wait to see you guys and hug you. So we will be having a few ones also by the end of the week. We will keep you updated, guys, but we will be having more panels sharing a little bit of what you will be experiencing in Mackinaw along with us. Okay, so yeah, thank you, everyone, and until next time, HUNUH. Love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.